Hello people of YouTube, I'm going to start a new thing here. It's called Football Manager 2020, the hard Brexit scenario. In this scenario, Brexit goes a bit wrong, and instead of just the European Union, the UK leaves UEFA as well and forms their own type of confederation and allows them to qualify for the World Cup on their own and have to form their own league. And there's a lot to it. It took me ages to make, and I think I've screwed up the African Nations Cup, but that doesn't matter too much anyway. Right, this is an intro one where I just show you what's happening. And what I plan to do is at the end of every month just run through what's happened, and we can go through the season as it comes, and it might be fun, it might be interesting. You can see who wins. Well, to be fair, it's going to be fairly obvious who wins during the first season or two, I imagine. Now, what's happened is the Premier League has now been split up because England has left UEFA. At least it has done in my eyes. It doesn't seem to on here, but that's because it can't really. But what we have here is, I'll explain the other countries in a moment. Let's start with the Premier League. The Premier League has been split into 40 different leagues. One for each county. Well, one for most counties. Some counties have doubled up, such as Bristol and Gloucestershire, Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, Leicestershire and Rutland. Sussex has been brought together, West and East, and all of Yorkshire has been brought together into one as well. Then the Championship now has 19 divisions, which is 19 lower divisions from the Premier League. We also have 5 divisions in League 1, and London, of course, with all those lovely teams, gets League 2 and the National League 2. So that's England. If we have a quick flick through some of these leagues, just to give you an idea of who's in what. And yes, so here, Bedfordshire, big team, Luton. Pretty sure they're going to win it for the first couple of seasons, but there's a twist to the tale. There's a lot of money involved. So if we head over to the rules, you can see that if you come first, you get £80 million, 50 million for second, 40 million for third. So yeah, there's a lot of money getting pumped into this league, and it's the same for all of the Premier League, because I edited it all as one, because the Premier League is the parent competition. So if we quickly skip down to one of the leagues that actually has some good teams in it, moving on to I'm trying to get to London basically. There we go. Greater London is probably the most competitive out of all of them, seeing as we got Arsenal, we got Chelsea, we got Spurs, we've also got Palace, West Ham, the other London team that's in the Premier League that I'm trying to remember right now, plus all those other ones in the lower leagues. There's only about 4 non-league teams in the 18-team Greater London Premier League, and that is going to be probably one of the most hard-fought ones. Plus you've got Greater Manchester, which has Man U and Man City, and obviously they're going to be trading wins to start with, but following up behind them, Wigan, Salford, Oldham, Rochdale and Bury have a second chance at life in this one, though they've lost their badge. Unlucky. Well, not lucky, it was pretty bad what happened to them. But moving on, there's loads. Herefordshire doesn't quite get much of a division there, but whoever wins that one gets £80 million. So they might become a force, you never know. Hertfordshire, Kent, Lancashire's a pretty hard fought one as well, because while they're not huge teams, they're all pretty similar in stature. Blackburn, Blackpool, Burnley, Fleetwood, Preston, plus Morecambe and Fylde are pretty high up as well, and Accrington, don't forget. Leicester are going to win the Leicestershire and Rutland one. Merseyside is just Liverpool and Everton, plus Tranmere, and then it's a whole load of non-league, and so on and so on. So yeah, pause if you want to have a proper look at the divisions. Shropshire gets TNS from Wales, although there was an error when I was editing it, because I'm a crap editor of it, and I only do it for a little bit. I had to redo them as a new team and just copy over some of their records. But what this has done is left the original TNS as a separate team on the game that enter a certain competition, which we'll talk about later. Onwards now, Somerset, rubbish. Staffordshire, Suffolk, Surrey, that's going to be an interesting one because there's no league teams in Surrey. Woking are the biggest team there, so Woking are probably going to end up with £80 million by the end of the season. It's not bad. Sussex, Tyne and Wear, Newcastle and Sunderland battling out there. Warwickshire, another one with no league teams. West Midlands is another hard to decide one. Aston Villa, Birmingham, Coventry, Wolves, West Brom, they'll all be battling out for the top spot. Wiltshire, Worcestershire, another one with no league teams. And Yorkshire, which is a tough one, a load of league teams in that one, all battling out for that lovely £80 million prize. Not too shabby. Well, breeze through all these second divisions and third divisions. They're all the non-league teams that go down below. London, as I said, they managed to fill 5 divisions. There's 98 London teams on the game, although some of the Surrey ones would probably count as London as well, but according to how I was doing it, apparently it's not. The English FA Cup. Now in this one, we've edited it. It starts at the first round, and we only have teams in the top divisions. So only teams in the Premier League. But in this scenario, that's over 1,000. It starts with the first round. All the big teams enter in the second round. It's quite a big tournament. Luckily, most of the leagues only play about 30 to 34 games, so there's a bit more time for them. There's a League Cup for every league as well. Some of them have group stages, such as Berkshire, because, well, the maths said we could, and it was a bit more interesting than just having a knockout tournament for each one. Cheshire, they also get a group stage, and so on, yeah. I think Merseyside has one, so Liverpool get an easy draw, I imagine, because it's all done by seedings. Warwickshire, 2 groups of 6. Yorkshire, Wiltshire, blah blah blah. There we go. The leasing.com trophy, or the Checkatrade trophy, or the LDV Vans trophy, whatever you remember it as, that has not been forgotten. We're keeping that in there. It's for all the lower league teams because they don't get to be in the FA Cup, so anyone from the Championship below get to be in this, as well as the teams from Herefordshire and Northumberland, because they didn't have enough teams really to do a League Cup, so they get to enter this one instead. Now, as you can see hovering over there, is the Brexit Champions League. This is every champion from all of the British leagues put into a group stage. Originally I was going to have qualifying rounds, but I'm not very good at editing, and it seemed to have all the losers from the first round go through as well as the winners, which was quite annoying. For the first season, Gibraltar, who are one of the teams that will be part of this, and I'll explain why in a moment, for some reason their teams don't go through, so apparently Manchester United and Manchester City get to be in the first tournament, as well as in the Empire League, which is for runners-up, so any team that came second in their league gets to be in this tournament too. Both tournaments are 17 groups of 5, and 32 teams go through to the second round, and so on and so on. It is two-legged from the second round onwards until the final, which is played, of course, at Wembley. Well, it's at Wembley in the Champions League. I can't remember what I did it at the Europa League. I think it's probably just going to be a neutral stadium for that. Then there is the Cup Winners' Cup, which is, as you can see, 3 groups of 4, yes, which will be the cup winners of each cup. So FA Cup, Scottish Cup, Welsh Cup, and all of the other cups. Basically, Man City are going to win it. It also has the last winner of the leasing.com trophy, because Montserrat doesn't have a FA Cup. Portsmouth get a little shot in it too, but they're against City, so they're probably going to go out. Right, don't need to worry about the reserves. We also have this in place for all of the other British territories, such as Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, Gibraltar, all of the Caribbean islands that is still owned by the UK, and something I did myself, which took ages, is the British territories. So Britain has several territories that don't really have football teams or leagues, and I created all the teams for them just so that they get a little shout as well. So the Isle of Man, Guernsey, Jersey, the Pitcairn Islands, Akrotiri and Deucalion, although I've spelt it wrong in that, so well done me. St Helena, which also includes a couple of islands, which is the something Islands, and Tristan da Cunha. Ascension Island, that's the one. The Falkland Islands, South Georgia and South Sandwich Islands, the British Antarctic Territory, which, as you can see, I put a lot of imagination into, with blues, greens, reds and yellows, although if you do hover over them you can see that they do have full names of some of the areas that actually exist in the British Antarctic Territory. I believe they're stations. They're not very important though. So, and of course there's the British Indian Ocean Territory, which we I believe took illegally, and we don't need to talk about too much, so let's not talk about that. The British Territories Cup is just all of those teams in a cup, and the winner gets to enter the Cup Winners' Cup. Exciting. What about the normal Champions League, I hear you ask, or imagine you might be asking. Well, I didn't forget about that. I managed to edit that badly, just as I did with the others. Well, we don't get to see that. Basically, the I'd say 64 teams qualify for the Champions Cup, and because I was having issues where I couldn't do qualifiers, all of them enter in the first round, and the winners of each of the first round go through to the group stage. We also have the Europa League, which is the same, but they have two rounds. It's 128 teams that qualify for that. And there's Euro Cup 2, or the Europa Conference League, call it what you want. That is just another 64 teams qualifying for that, but 2 teams each for the lower leagues, the ones that don't get too much of a chance. It will still be won by the Spanish team, no doubt though. Also, because we've had the Caribbean teams entered, I've also edited the North American tournaments too. Just basically removed the Caribbean teams from it, but with this it's literally just a team, 16 teams knockout tournament, which is kind of similar to what they do. They've changed it recently, but I've changed it back because, well, it was a lot easier for me, because I'm not great at editing. What it is the top teams in the top leagues plus the Canadian Championship winner, the winner of the North American League, or the CONCACAF League as it is in real life, and the Caribbean Champions Cup, which I created as well. So North American League is another 16 teams, the best teams from pretty much the Central American teams in Canada, and then the Caribbean Champions Cup, which is champions of all of the Caribbean islands, apart from the ones that are now part of the Brexit Champions League, and well, a couple of them get their runners-up as well. Also, the Club World Cup. I know it's supposed to be every 4 years, but I was struggling to do that. Told you, not a good editor. Oh no, that's the Italian Youth Cup International. Don't need that. I'm sure that it's all good. There we go. Club World Championship. It's now still yearly, and it's 3 groups of 4 teams. Champions League winners, Europa League winners, Copa America winners. Oh, sorry, Copa Libertadores winners, Copa Sudamericana winners, Brexit Champions League winners, and all the ones below, just so it fills up 12 teams. Randomise the hosts of all countries that would look like they'd like to do it. Same with the European Championships and the World Cup, and we've also got a Brexit National Championship, which is all of the British colonies. I'd say, is it colony? No, it's not colonies, isn't it? Colony is not right the word. No, British countries, plus the British territories. It's where they actually get to play. Also, well, I had to edit the Asian Nations Cup and the African Nations Cup because the World Cup qualifiers are attached to them. World Cup qualifiers, that's the Brexit version. Basically, they all are in a league, just like in South America, and the top 2 qualify for the World Cup. Europe changed that. It's now just 10 groups of 5 because there's only 50 countries left there, and the top team qualifies in each, plus a few others. Basically, I've edited the World Cup to be 48 teams from 2022 instead, and randomised the hosts. So let's have a quick look at who the hosts are going to be now. Turkey. Exciting. Anyway, that's pretty much all the explanation I can be bothered to give right now. We can, it's been 15 minutes, plenty of time. Let's move on, and the next episode we'll see what happens in a month's time. Or No, end of August actually, because that's a month after the season actually starts. So you'll see me back in 3 months' time, or maybe less than that in real life. Who knows? Until then, though, rock on, and like and subscribe and whatever.